What if I told you that one principle of productivity that I discovered in the 8th grade helped me throughout high school and into college? What if I told you that this principle was so effective that it could easily cut in half the time that it takes for you to do something? And that if you applied this principle to not only productivity, but the rest of your life, you would be a happier and healthier person? It sounds too good to be true. And it kind of is, not gonna lie, like, things aren't magic like that, but this principle, I swear, is that good. What is this magical tool? The Pareto Principle. The Pareto Principle is commonly known as the 20-80 rule. The gist of it is that 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort. And flipping that around, 80% of your effort goes to only 20% of your results. This principle is everywhere in self-help and productivity books, and I promise you, it is as effective as people claim it to be. For a brief history of the principle, Joseph Duran was a business consultant who founded it, and he coined the term based off of a civil engineer, economist, and sociologist, Vilfredo Pareto. That dude was really busy. So how do you apply this principle to your life? And for me to repeat it one more time, 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort, and 80% of your effort goes towards 20% of your results. It's not complicated, it's just hard to understand. I don't think you're stupid, they just say that you gotta repeat things 3 times. Here you have work, here you have results. 20% of the work, that little bit there, gets you almost all the way done. 80% done. But for you to creep out that last 20% of work, that last, right there, last 20% of work, you need to do all of that effort. That's more effort than people want to do. That's more results than most people need for most tasks. So the gist of it is, if you only put in this 20%, you'll reach 80% of these results, and because you don't normally care about that last 20 perfectionist percent, you're fine. You can end there. You don't have to put so much effort into everything. You just get it 80% of the way done, you settle for mediocrity, you move on. Let's use an example. Say you're studying for a test, and your goal for the test is to get a 100. But let's say you only had an hour and 20 minutes to study, and you got an 80. If you had an hour and 40 minutes, then of course you would have gotten a 100, correct? You see, you did 80% of the work. You made your flashcards, you went over them, you reviewed your PowerPoints, and you got the gist of the information. You got an 80. To get that last percent, to get every single question right, to make sure you have absolutely everything covered, it would have taken multiple more hours. So 20% of the effort got you the 80. But then most of the effort to get a 100 was still yet to come. And you didn't have an opportunity to do that, so you got an 80. Okay, so that's an application on a test, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Where else can you apply it? Let's say in economics, the top 20% own 80% of the wealth. Or in computing, 80% of the bugs in a project come from only 20% of the code. In business, your top 20% of customers create 80% of your revenue. 20% of your life leads to 80% of your happiness. And 20% of studying leads to 80% of the results. And there is a difference between productivity and laziness. Lazy would be, you put 20% of the effort in, you get 80% of the result, and then you go sit on your couch and play video games for 8 hours because you have nothing better to do. Productivity is, you put in 20% of the effort, you get the 80 on the test, and then you go to work. And that's how I applied the principle in high school. You see, I found the principle in the 8th grade, and at this point, I was doing pretty well in school. The grades are very inflated in middle school, so everyone has either a 90 or a 100, and I figured out I was okay with a 90. I was going to the public school. I was already accepted into the business program that I wanted to be accepted in there. I was fine with 90s. I had a math teacher who was actually kind of disappointed in me because she wanted me to get those 100s, seeing that I was finishing the test in a quarter of a time and getting 85s or 90s on them. And at the time, I just wasn't interested in putting that extra effort in. And I would rather do my homework, and then I would go home and play Xbox. I was young, so was it lazy? Now, yes, but I was in middle school. Now, applying it to high school, this is where it gets fun. Because you can apply it to business, and I could do a video about 20% clients, 80% cash flow, but I know about that. I haven't proved that I can do that. So I'm going to talk about high school, which is something that I have proved I am halfway decent at. And my God, was this principle key to my success. it fits into high school so well that I was able to stay in the highest level classes with minimal work put in. This principle works so well that I was able to apply it to the highest level classes, putting an effort that I would normally have to put into the lowest level classes. How is the question? How do you, one of the few people who have made it this far in the video, which if you have, please hit the like button, how do you apply it? Well, it's basically the anecdote from before. You study until you get an 80 or an 85 in a class. I'd say B's. You don't want to dip into C territory because then people are going to start pushing you and that can get annoying. But if you can just streamline B's, you're good. You're chilling. If you don't want to go to a fancy Ivy League school or get into a certain program and you're fine with B's, coast. Getting A's is abundantly difficult, especially in harder classes where you need to be almost perfect. But if you're just kind of average, you get a B, and that's fine, because a lot of people shoot for A's and get B's. You just gotta focus in on what gets you the B and do that. The idea of shooting for the moon and you'll hit the stars, I totally support that. But as far as it comes with the education system, I don't care about it as much. To go a little bit more in depth into how I applied it to high school, I'm gonna break down AP classes. They're on a 5.0 curve, which is described in a different video on my channel, link down below. And every class ends in a national AP exam with a very strict grading rubric so as to be fair to every student across America taking the exam. You can abuse this so well. Because the classes are structured with these rubrics, with the test in mind, they teach to the test. So every project, every exam, they're going to have these tight rubrics that you can play around. You're going to know exactly how many points each question gives you, what you need to do on a project, what you need to do in an essay. Everything is going to be there. And then take the temperature of your teacher, see if she's going to blow up the C's to B's, or if she's going to really make you fight for the A, but apply this to your individual classroom. I am speaking for AP classes as a whole. All of this needs to be tailored to you if you want to find real success with it. By taking advantage of the curve, meaning you can basically get a C and turn it into a B, and looking at the rubrics and asking what will be an 80, you can put in 20% of the work without stressing about getting that A. I've seen too many kids go through AP classes needing A's throughout the entire thing. Meanwhile, they're so close, or they're actually getting it, but they're still stressed out of their mind. Why do that to yourself? Why? I understand for college purposes, if you really need those A's, then fight for it. And I understand if you're capable of getting those A's relatively easily, because you're capable of more than what high school demands of you, and you want to get the A's, fine. You do you. Again, individual catering for the 20/80 principle. But if you're like many students, you're fine with B's, you don't quite need the A's to end your anxiety attacks, and you want more time on your hands to actually go out and experience life and better yourself as an individual, I would highly recommend the Pareto Principle. 20% of your work gets you 80% of your results. Guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you could please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Subscriptions and comments particularly help out a lot. As of recording this, I'm at 192 subscribers. I'm hoping this video will push me to 200 and beyond. I plan on taking this channel further, so hope you guys are enjoying the content. If not, let me know what I can change in the comments down below. That's going to be it for this one. Peace.
Hello, I am Will Collette from Define Wisdom. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about
Smart things.
How do you measure your smartness? Basically, it's a scale,
Rectors.
and you measure it on Richters. And the amount of smart that you are depends on how many Richters you have. My friend Alex Bianchi, who runs the show, has about 16 Richters of smart.
Out of how many?
It's an unlimited scale. It goes infinitely.
You should give him more than it's kind of a crappy score.
Me personally, I have like 150 Richters.
What the
because I have
government secrets.
I know government secrets. I can't tell you any of them. They're secrets. They're from the government. And if I told you, it would ruin it.
How many Richters do I have?